Hello, welcome to Journey with Jones, creating virtual tours to generate global awareness. My name is Amanda Jones. I'm very thankful and grateful for the Georgia Library Conference for allowing me to speak to you today. Just a little bit about myself. Like I said, my name is Amanda Jones. I am the 2020 Louisiana School Librarian of the Year. I'm a 20-year educator, and I'm the teacher librarian at Live Oak Middle School in Watson, Louisiana. We are a 5th and 6th grade middle school, suburban area, a little outside of Baton Rouge, about an hour and a half from New Orleans. I am a Google Level 1 and Level 2 certified educator, the ASL 2019 Social Media Superstar Program Pioneer, and I love to present at national conferences like ASL and ISTE. So today we're going to talk about different types of virtual trips. Now, our school building closed on March 13th due to COVID. And I started thinking that I wanted to find a way to still connect with my students while we were distance learning. At that time, at March 13th, we were unsure of if we were going to be able to come back to school. We didn't. And I wanted a way to connect with my families and my communities, and my students while we were our school building was closed. So I read an article about 12 virtual trips around the world that you could take from the comfort of your own home. And there were so many different links. And I thought to myself, my students that are in 5th and 6th grade might have a hard time navigating all of these sites and the virtual programs. So what I decided to do was host live virtual trips. So every week I would host a live virtual trip. I would record it on Zoom and I would stream live on our library's Facebook page. And I would present a slideshow, much like what I'm presenting to you right now. And on each slide, we would go through and we would look at different links, and I would sort of travel the world with the students. And a lot of our families watched it in the living room. They would send me pictures of the families watching the virtual trips. I think I hosted 19 trips in the spring. Now that we have returned to school, I am, instead of it being kind of an escapism and a way to connect, now I have used the virtual trips to embed into our social studies and science classrooms. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. There are many different types of trips that you can do. There are, first of all, you could just give the kids a link and say, hey, look, check out these virtual tours. And you could give them the link so they can kind of scroll through. Here's Hot Springs, Virgin Islands National Park, and they can just kind of click on these and they could go on trips by themselves if you wanted to do that. There are some teachers or some librarians that like to give these little menus, and so they'll give little menus and they'll post these maybe in Google Classroom or on their social media, and they'll say, like, here's where we're going to go. Here's some STEM related activities, some crafts, and some read alouds. And that was created. Oh, I thought I had who had created that. I'm going to have to, I do later on in the presentation give this librarian credit for this because this is not created by me. Another thing you could do, like I said, was you could host live virtual tours. And so I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you different resources. So depending on what kind of trip you want to host, you can host any kind of trip you want, whether it's creating a menu choice board like the librarian I showed you, or whether it's hosting a live tour like what I have been doing. We will go through and we will look at all of the different trips that we can do. The cool thing about a live stream when you're acting like a host is that students can post questions and ask comments. And I really, really like that aspect. All right, so the first thing you want to do when you're getting ready, oops, I'm sorry there. The first thing you want to do when you're getting ready is you want to make promotional displays. I like to use Canva. If you're an educator, you can get a free Canva account, but this is a promo that I made using Canva. I go through Google image searches, look for common Wiki Commons or label for reuse photos that I put in the background. I use the different elements in Canva to create little promos, and I post these on social media. I'll email them to parents. We have a parent email group. If you're a public librarian, social media. If you're a school librarian, have your teachers send it out in Reminds and in Google Classroom and on your school's Facebook or websites. If you're a public librarian, you can put these on your public library website. It's a good way to generate publicity and to let them know that you have an upcoming trip. You also want to make sure you prepare your presentation in full. Create a website that promotes your virtual tours. For instance, here's my website. That is not my website. Here's my website. And so I have lomlibrary.org, and I have an entire link or entire page devoted to our virtual tours. And so I'll have our upcoming trips, and we have a few more. I need to add those in there. I have a gallery of where we've gone, and I like to take a picture. I like to wear funny hats because I just think it makes it more interesting. Plus, I'm a little extra. So I like to wear hats. So I have a gallery there. Then over here, I've embedded a Wakelet. If you're not familiar with Wakelet, you should really check it out. You can embed these into your websites. And I have all of our virtual tours. So I have all the virtual tours that I've done. I have the video presentation if they want to go back and look at it. I also include the links to my presentation because when I'm presenting to the students or to the families, I include the presentation because a lot of the sites I go to are VR capable and they can use their Google Cardboard, their devices at home, and they can revisit those links and go and look at it in virtual reality. I did want to note, shout out to Sarah Sansbury in Georgia. Sarah and I have partnered together to create virtual tours. We did it recently. I'm Journey with Jones, she's Safari with Sansbury. We united together for our 5th grade science classes, and we did a virtual tour on ecosystems. So shout out to Sarah Sansbury in Georgia. But have a website where you can post all of your pictures, all of your tours, things like that. So after you create your promos and slides, you have your website, you've prepared, maybe buy some extras. You can also make videos. Now here's a video. I like TikTok's free. You don't have to have a TikTok account and share your, I mean, you can use the video features. This is one to advertise your virtual tours. So you can use free video apps like TikTok to make little promos and slides. All right, so what I do in the past, I have used Zoom to stream live. You can get the pro account is like $16 a month, and you can stream straight to YouTube or Facebook. What I've recently switched to is something called StreamYard, and it does about the same thing as Facebook, as Zoom as far as streaming. I prefer StreamYard though because you can add captions and things. So I've been using StreamYard more recently, but most people are going to be familiar with Zoom. I'm the only one in the Zoom, and then I stream live. Make sure you share your sound, your screen and your sound, and make sure you record it so that you can upload it to YouTube or wherever you're going to upload it later. Always do a test run because Zoom streaming on Facebook is kind of iffy. So I do a little test about an hour beforehand. Some tips for streaming live. When you're streaming live, so this is my setup. So I usually have my computer where I am presenting right here, and this is what I'm streaming. Then I have a computer up here that I've set for notes because I can't remember all of the facts when I'm going through my virtual tours. So I have a computer, not notes, I'm sorry. This is where I monitor comments from Facebook or YouTube, depending on what I'm using. And then I have my notes down here with an iPad, and I have all my notes to remind me what I want to say. It's kind of a lot there. Use a green screen if you have one. If you're not familiar with green screening, you can go to the Dollar Tree and you can buy the neon, or Walmart, and buy the cheap little dollar neon green tablecloths, and you can use those as a backdrop. If you're going to use those, double it up because it's kind of see-through. Make sure you have all your links, that you're loaded and ready to present. I just use a cheap little $5 microphone earbud set that I got from Walmart. And also when you're streaming, make sure you promote your next trips so that people know what you have coming up. So let me show you, before I get into the tools and how to find the resources, let me kind of show you, give you an idea of what I do when I host a live trip. So I begin with a slide deck or a presentation. I use Google Slides. You could use PowerPoint, whatever you want to use. But I use Google Slides, and I always start off, I use the same the same template every single time to make it more familiar for the kids and for the community. But I usually put some different information on here about wherever I'm going. So here I went to Nepal, Tibet, and Mount Everest. And to let you kind of know what that looks like, let me show you a little closer view. So I start off like this, and the first thing I do is I'll go over official languages, population. And so while I'm showing this, I give information on, you know, the country or the countries or wherever we're at. Here we went to Nepal. I'll show them where on the map it is located, or where on the globe it's located. And then I'll usually have a close-up of the country, and I'll kind of talk about the capital and different areas, talk about the flag. Then I go straight to Google Earth, and I open this link because as I go through each attraction or each location in that country, I toggle back and forth between my presentation and Google Earth, and I show it in 3D and Street View using Google Earth. I'll show you that in just a minute. And then I just go through. So for instance, this is one of the first places we went to. So I would click on Google Trek. I would go there. I would show them some different things. I'm going to show you these tools later. But we would just tour around, and I would show them virtual tours, panoramas. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm giving facts about where we're at. And I'm doing all this live. Then I like to throw in a little trivia. The kids will answer the trivia in the live stream. And then I just kind of keep going until we finished. I go through. We went to multiple countries, and during this tour, I go through, have another trivia, and I click on those links as we're traveling, and then I show them some extra resources. I talk to them about our next trips, and give them information on where they can find more information about me or our trips. So that's kind of what a presentation looks like. The whole thing takes about 45 minutes. Now, obviously, if you don't want to spend 45 minutes, if you want to spend 15, you can make it as long or as short as you would like to. So one thing I said was that I use the same tools, or I'm sorry, the same template for our presentations every single time. If you're looking for different templates, I just wanted to include this. Slides Mania, Slides Carnival, Presentation Go, and Slides Go are good places to find templates to do your presentations. And the next thing we're going to go talk about are my favorite tools and websites for creating these trips. And a lot of these you can use just on their own, and you can do a whole trip like using Airpano, or a whole trip using Google Earth. I'm going to show you how to combine all of these tools for what I think is the best experience. One of my all-time favorite tools that I use is Google Earth. I love Google Earth. So let me show you what all you can do in Google Earth. I'm not going to show you everything. I could do a whole webinar just on what you can do in Google Earth. But what I like to do is I create a project. So you can go over here, you click on this, and it lets you create a project. So I start with our school, and then I zoom out and show Louisiana, North America. Then we travel to wherever we're going to go. So to give you an idea of what it looks like, let me hit present. And so I have pre-planned this whole trip in Google Earth. So all I do now is I go through and hit present, and I go through. So I'll show the kids where we're at. We'll zoom out. We'll show Louisiana as a whole. Then I'll zoom out again, and I'll show them North America before we travel over to Italy. I'm going through this kind of fast since I'm just presenting, but we'll travel over to Italy, which is where we went on this trip. And I go through, and as I go through to each city, or each, we'll start in Venice. As I go through each area of wherever we're traveling, I'll show them Google Earth. I will put it in 3D. They can kind of look at it. Their Street View. Let me show you something cooler. I'll show you, in fact, we will go to the Piazza San Marco so I can show you this. This is pretty cool. So say we're here, and I would toggle back and forth. So I go to my slideshow, and I'll say, all right, guys, we're at the Piazza San Marco, and I would give information and facts about it. And we would look at different links. And then I would go to Google Earth and say, this is where it's located on the globe. And I would show them Piazza San Marco. So let me zoom in. So then what I do is I put it in 3D, and I give facts about it. So I'm talking about Piazza San Marco while I'm giving facts while I'm showing it in Google 3D on Google Earth. and it spins around. You can stop it at any time. You can also click this little person right here. You can do street view. You can go in when it pops up, you can scroll in and you can look at anything down here at street view. Now, the cool thing about Google Earth, like I said, is that you can create projects. And for each one of these places, you can also add your own images. You can add links into all of the locations. Sometimes you can find pre-made virtual tours in Google Earth. All you have to do is go look. So sometimes there's already things created for you. But there's all sorts of things you can explore. Voyager projects, photos, lots of information can be found at Google Earth. The next thing I want to show you, that was Google Earth. My next favorite tool is called 360cities.net, and it shows stock 360-degree panoramic images and videos. So this is an example. So for instance, when we went to Rome, I searched Colosseum. Now, not everything that you're looking for will be found on this website, but most of it will. And these are just people that have uploaded their own photos. So say you're looking for the Colosseum, you can go through here and you can scroll down and you can choose which views you want to use. So you want to use that one, you can kind of look and see what's this one all about. So say I wanted to use that one. I could open it up, make it larger. And so what I do is I insert these links into the pictures that I've chosen, links directly into my presentation. And what I like to show parents and kids and whatever is that you can watch it in VR. So I'll show them through the virtual tour. I'll go through and I'll show them this 360-degree panorama. And also while I'm showing it, I'm giving facts and information as I'm kind of touring around. But I'll show them that they can use VR goggles. If they have VR goggles, I show them how they can go back to that link and they can use this and they can kind of explore on their own. And it's really cool because you can usually find all sorts of photos, interesting photos for pretty much wherever you want to go. It's rare that I don't find a panorama in 360cities.net. The third tool I want to talk to you about is 360-degree stories. Now, this one has some pre-made stories. Ignore where it says pricing. And this is limited though. It doesn't have everything you want to do. But say you want to go to, they're really good Anne Frank. I'm just going to click on Amsterdam. They have a really good Anne Frank story in here. But the prices, it shows you what you would pay if you visited the actual museum, but you can click on it and you can go through and kind of do a virtual tour. It is a little slower, as you can see. It's a little slower than the other websites. It takes a little while to load, but once it loads, and you just ignore this right here, but you can play sound. You can go to different areas. So it's got stories up next. You click through here and you can go to different areas in the museum. You can even embed this into your websites if you want to do a tour that way. You can go full screen, you can share, but there's a story that you can play. Let's see. Like I said, it's really slow. So right now it's being really slow, like while I'm trying to share it to you. So I'm not going to end up playing it, but it'll narrate as it's showing you what you're looking at. And let's go look at Airpano. Airpano is also a wonderful they have virtual trips pre-made. So if you wanted to say, go do your own virtual trip in Airpano, they have some that are pre-made. Say I wanted to go to Petra in Jordan and you don't have time to host your own live trip, you could just drop this link to your students on your social media or in your choice boards or in Google Classroom or whatever you're using. But like I said, what I do is I do live trips. So I put this link into my Google Slides and I'll show them this and give them the link that they can go back and look at it later and just kind of touch on it because I like to show them as many resources as I can. As you can hear, it does have a soundtrack. I'm gonna turn that off so you can hear me. And so here we have, and I will make this large, here we have Petra. And there's little question marks. You can click on the little question marks. And I do this during the virtual tours and I say, give them information. about what we're looking at. You see here, you can click on, you can go inside, you can click on this link and it gives you a whole article about Petra. Sometimes I'll click on that and I'll scroll through and I'll talk to the kids about what we're looking at, look at the photograph and other pictures. Then over here, there are other areas. You can click on the other pictures and you can scroll and look all over the place. Petra, they have tons over here that you can click on, all sorts of different photos, and these are all virtual reality. You can click on these, you can scroll in, you can scroll out, you can look up, you can look down. So this is one of my favorite tools to use with students, and then I can click on the question marks and it'll give further information. Airpano also doesn't have every location, but they have a lot. So there is a lot on here that you can click on. Let me figure out how to make this not whole screen. There we go. Google Images is another thing that I use. So I'll do a Google image search. Now, when you do, I'm just gonna type in Petra. So when I do a Google image search and I'm looking for images to use for my virtual trips, I always wanna make sure I go and I click on usage rights and Creative Commons licenses. I like to use things that are labeled for reuse in Creative Commons. Usually I'll post at the beginning of the presentation that all images were taken from Wiki Commons. I like to give my sources, and so then I try to use as many from Wiki Commons as possible. If I do use something other than Wiki Commons, I will definitely note where I got that image from. So I do want to point out, make sure you're only using things that are labeled for reuse when you're hosting live virtual tours or using these images. And the final thing I'm going to show you on this slide is Google Arts and Culture. Google Arts and Culture is another one of those websites that, let me type in the Van Gogh Museum. You could pretty much do a whole virtual trip just from what you find on Google Arts and Culture. But like I said, I like to show the best of all of the websites, so I kind of combine them all for my presentation. But if you don't have time, you could literally do an entire virtual tour just using Google Arts and Culture. Most museums, most locations that are pretty well known, you will find information on Google Arts and Culture. So just a little bit, we went to Amsterdam, and so I was talking about the Van Gogh Museum. So we went here for one of our trips. And it has different things like stories. So you have the different online exhibits that you can go look at. Then it has what's in the collection. So you could click on what's in the collection. And the cool thing is you can click on some of these and you can watch it in augmented reality. You can view it in street view. So you could be standing in front of the actual painting and street view, and you could look at it that way. Or you can even click on this and you can zoom in and you can see the actual brush strokes. Look how crystal clear that is. So it's pretty crystal clear. So especially if you're doing some type of artwork, visit Google Arts and Culture. And you can show the students how they can look at it in augmented reality. You scroll down, it gives you all the details you need about this particular painting. Now, and it has all of Van Gogh's paintings here. Let's go back to, I want to show you how you can tour the actual museum. So there's 4 different museum views. And the reason I knew that I could tour the museum is because up at the top, they have the little street view person. So you could click on that, or you could scroll down and you could pick where you want to start at. So say you want to start on the 2nd floor. I'm just random. And so you can go on the 2nd floor and you can take an actual tour. So you can click on here, Google Street View, and you can go up and you can look closely at the different paintings and the different exhibits. So you can tour the whole museum this way. But what's cool is down here at the bottom, you can also click on individual artwork and you can look at it. So you want to click on that. You can get pretty close up. You can zoom out. You can click on it and it will go to that particular piece of art and tell you all about it. So you can do all sorts of things with this, whether you're teaching art, history, science museums, you can go to and click on the different things. So Google Arts and Culture is also another of my favorites. So I'm going to show you some more tools, but these are 6 of my top favorite tools I use for virtual trips. And basically I just go through all of these for whatever location we're going to be going to, and I pick the favorite features from each one of these and put it on a slide presentation before I host my actual trip. All right, 7 more of my favorite tools. So one thing I found pretty far into when I was creating my own trips is something called Google Trek. And those are some pre-made trips. So let me go and show you Google Trek. Now, Google Trek has pre-made tours, but they're limited in what you are going to look at. So you're kind of limited. They only have, I think, 16 total. Let's see, 16 total trips. But what you can do is if you're going somewhere that has one of these, choose it as one of your resources. We will go to, let me choose the Eiffel Tower to show you. So say you're doing a virtual tour on France. You could go here to the Eiffel Tower. Google Trek has already created some information for you. So say you're not going to host a live trip, you could drop this Eiffel Tower link into a menu choice board, and you could use this as your virtual tour. So it goes a little into the history. You can explore in Street View. You can see views of Paris from the Eiffel Tower. So you can click on this. You can show your patrons or your students. This is a 360-degree panorama. And there's several different views. You could click on that. You could look at the history. And if you click on that, you can, if you click on this, it goes into the history and some different things. Like you click this arrow right here, and there's all sorts of different things you can click on and find out about the Eiffel Tower. And then if you scroll down, you can take the trip with Google Maps. There's a video. I'll play you the video just for a second. So you could choose to show the video in your live tour, or just choose to show them that it's there if they want to explore some more. Then you can click on Explore in Street View. So that is Google Trek. Something else I've used is Google Tour Builder. They have pre-made virtual tours, or the cool thing about this is that you can build on your own. However, I just learned this week that it will be shut down July of 2021. So if you want to use it till 2021, July of 2021, then you got to stop using it. But what they've done is they've incorporated all the best features of Tour Builder into Google Earth. So things that you would do in Google Tour Builder will now be found in Google Earth, and you can create your own tours there. Something that I did, we had a virtual orientation. So what I did was I used Tour Builder, and I uploaded 360-degree panoramas of our school. So the kids could go on kind of like a virtual tour, clicking the pictures, and you can put little arrows and information and highlight different things in the pictures. And you can create your own virtual tours with pictures and videos just with your phone. I used my iPhone and captured 360-degree panoramas, uploaded it into Tour Builder, had a complete tour for the kids. But I like to use their pre-made tours when I am hosting my trips. So this was what we used when we were talking about Jane Goodall, and now I'm forgetting where it's Tanzania, Namibia. I'm sorry, I forget what country this is off the top of my head. But we went to look at her research center, and you can click over here and it tells you all sorts of information. There are pictures, and then you can click on Street View and you can go explore close-up pictures. Another thing I like to use is Wakelet. Wakelet is really cool because you can, I'm trying to click on my link, there we go. Wakelet is where you can store a lot of your sources and your information. So I have a whole entire Wakelet board. You saw on my website that I had a Wakelet board of all of my trips with my presentations and videos. I have another Wakelet that includes all of my trips. I have a YouTube playlist on my library's YouTube channel. But I also have all my favorite tools in here. And then I also have different links to other different tours that you can take. So anytime I'm trying to come up with an idea, I will go through my Wakelet and see if there's anything I saved on here that could be useful for an upcoming trip. Google Translate is something I use all the time because I do not speak a foreign language. So say I am going to, I don't know, Italy, and I want to say, hello, translate it into Italian. There we go.
Ciao.
But what I like to use Google Translate for is because sometimes there will be places that I do not know how to pronounce. So I will type it into Google Translate, but I will play it on here and it will tell me, see, I spelled it wrong. It'll tell me what it means. So I know that if I'm looking at Piazza San Marco, I know that in English that's St. Mark's Square, and I can learn how to pronounce it.
Piazza San Marco.
And on my notes that I have for myself when I'm giving my trips, I like to spell it out phonetically so that I'm hoping that I kind of am pronouncing some of these places correctly. So I use Google Translate to help me with that. Google searches. So some of these other tools that I've used are great, but sometimes you can't find what you need. And sometimes a simple Google search will suffice. For instance, when I went to Nepal, I did find a lot of good resources for Mount Everest and Tibet and Nepal. But by doing a simple Google search, I found an entire, it's called Nepalopedia, and it's virtual tours all over Nepal. So you never know what you'll find, what you might find if you do a simple Google search. So say you're going to, let's use the Eiffel Tower again. I'll type in Eiffel Tower virtual tour, Eiffel Tower 360, Eiffel Tower panorama. And there's all sorts of resources you can find just by using a simple Google search. Google Poly is something that I like to use. And they have pre-made tours, but they also have, you can build your own 3D tours in here also. I haven't built my own in here, but I have used some of their trips that they already have. And these are trips that just, you can make your own trip on here and other people can view it. But you can find all sorts of panoramas. You can click on it and find out more information. And you can just go through here and see what you can find. You never know, you might find something for a trip that you're doing. And finally, I wanted to show you YouTube. So YouTube is cool because you can upload all the trips that you do for your students or your patrons to view later. You can create kind of like a little catalog of all the trips you've done. But also there are VR videos on here. So I'll search on here and I'll see if I can find a VR video. This is an example of a VR video. So we took a trip of U.S.
In the
National
United
Parks.
States, we could face a national water shortage in a little more than 50 years.
It's little water saving.
And you know, let me show you this trick. So if you go up to watch in the URL and you put in between watch and the question mark, if you put underscore pop up, you can make it without ads, which now I think I went to a complete different virtual tour. But anyway, 360-degree videos are really cool because a lot of times they're narrated. So like you can see this one's narrated.
Welcome to Jupiter, the largest planet in
But
our
you
solar
can
system.
explore all around
300 times more massive than Earth.
and look while
If
it's
it
being
doesn't
narrated.
look impressive from this distance, well.
So that would be YouTube, and you can find all sorts of VR trips, virtual reality trips using YouTube. You just got to look and do a little search. So let me show you some different examples that other librarians have put together. So the very first one I saw, spotted this on Twitter, is by librarian Gretchen Haslin from Kilmer Middle School. And they do, they have a really great website. And so they have like Maker Monday, Travel Tuesday, Wonder Wednesday. But I love their Travel Tuesday because they post their trips on here. So this is a trip, they went to London. So I'm going to click on it. This is Kilmer Middle School. And so instead of hosting a live trip, what they did was they put this on their website, and it says, look, see the sites. You can go on a virtual tour of London. You can visit Big Ben. So they already kind of have their links posted, and the students or the patrons can kind of look at it at their own pace. I really, really like that. They also include STEAM activities and travel with a book. They put their book suggestions on here. That's Kilmer Middle School. That's one example. Autry Mill Middle. Now, another Georgia librarian, Martha Bongiorno. And so she has Wanderlust Wednesdays. And I love her Wanderlust Wednesdays. So this is the one she did on Paris. And you can scroll through. She's got a quote. And kind of like what Kilmer did. And they've got their virtual tours. They've got see the sites. She's included makerspace and STEM activities. And then travel with a book. And I love how Martha puts like different categories for younger readers, for middle grade readers. So you can specify for different patron age levels what you want, you know, your book suggestions that go with along with your trip. And this is Martha Bongiorno's Wanderlust Wednesdays. This is Sarah Curran. So she is from Wakanda School 111, and this was her choice board that we looked at earlier. So we've kind of already looked at this. Bryson Middle School, librarian Patty Barker. She had a virtual spring break adventure. And so she had her virtual spring break, and they went somewhere for each day of spring break. So it's not something she does ongoing. It's something she did for a special occasion. You could do that if you don't want to do ongoing trips, or say you want to put together a unit for social studies. Say, for instance, say your social studies teachers are teaching ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. You could have a travel week, and each week you could post a little trip, a little 5-10 minute trip for them to drop in Google Classroom, or you could post the links like this. Day 4, they went to New York City. And so they've got to see the sights, visit the museums, head on a walking tour. She's got fun facts, things you can do at home. And then she's got some different book suggestions. And then finally, let me show you this school, St. Dominic High School. They also had the virtual spring break. And so they had different places they could go. You could click on here, click on all the different links, and go on a virtual spring break. So these are all the places they went. So you can choose to host your own virtual tours, or you can post websites and links like what they do, these different librarians have done. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, say you don't have time to come up with your own trips and tours, use ones other people have created. All you have to do is email and ask them. I don't mind. People use mine all the time. I have no problem with anyone using any of mine. But I will email and I'll say, hey, I really like this resource. Do you mind if I put a link to your like your Wanderlust Wednesday or your Travel Tuesday and use it, but I will give you full attribution on my website. And so with that being said, you're welcome to any resource that you see on my website, which was, the link is right here, but it's lomlibrary.org, and you can click on the Journey with Jones page. I put in some resources here. These are an article I did in Knowledge Quest on Journey with Jones, guide to using Google Arts and Culture, how to live stream, guide to uses rights and Google Images, all sorts of different information that you can find right here in these resources. But that's basically it. So I do my Journey with Jones tours. I'm going to continue to do them this school year. This school year, I am working with science and social studies. So I'm trying to align the American Association of School Librarians, their standards, with my social studies and my science teachers' standards. And I'm taking those standards and I'm mashing them up, and I'm figuring out what unit they're on and what we can do, what type of trip we can do, or what I can do to support them in that in their curriculum and what they're focusing on. I've yet to find one for math that I can do, but I'm working on it. I do want to do one for math, and I am going to start incorporating Journey with Jones virtual tours with ELA and go on lit trips, where we will go on literature trips based on the novels that they're reading. Just haven't gotten that far into it, but I do have an upcoming trip with 6th grade social studies on Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. And I am going to be partnering up with Sarah Sansbury from Georgia again. And we're going to be doing another science trip on plant cells and animal cells. So I kind of think we're kind of like Miss Frizzle from Magic School Bus. And we take the kids on these adventures. We're not only covering all the standards, we're not only collaborating with our teachers at our school, but we're embedding ourselves into their classrooms, and we're showing that librarians are the resource. We're the resource. We can find resources for them. We can do things outside the box besides just checking out books. We can collaborate on cool, fun lessons like this, and the students love it. Like I said, I did about 19 or 20 trips back in the spring when we were distance learning. We have returned to school this year. So far, we're in our 5th week of school as I'm recording this on September 13th. We are in our 5th week of school, heading into our 6th week of school. I've done 5 virtual tours, I believe, with the different teachers. And so every student in our entire school has seen at least 2. So whether they were in 5th grade, they saw a science and a social studies. A 6th grade saw 1 science and 2 social studies trips. So we're hybrid, and I haven't had a chance to have the kids in the school library like I would normally have, which was upsetting because I didn't get to meet all the kids at the beginning of the school year like they normally come into the library, and I haven't been able to do this. But this is a way for me to, the kids have met me. So like I walk down the hall and they say, "Hey, Miss Jones," and they have not even been to the library this school year because of restrictions, but they know who I am because I've embedded myself in the classroom through these virtual tours. Last thing I wanted to show you, if you're interested in looking at different resources I've created, you can look here. If you go to my website, lomlibrary.org, I have all of my virtual trips. You can go through and see what I've done, take my ideas, because I promise you, I probably got ideas from other people. We're all better together when we share information. This is my my friend Heather Jones, not Heather Jones, my friend Heather White and I host webinars, not just for librarians, but all educators or anyone that's looking to up their ed tech game. So we do host a lot of webinars on how to use technology like App Smashing, G Suite, Wakelet, Flipgrid, Google Forms, all sorts of information. So if you're interested in learning about ed technology tools, you can click here and you can look at all the webinars Heather White and I do completely for free. So you can click on those, the presentations and videos are included if you're ever interested in learning more about ed tech. This is my Twitter. This is my professional, like personal/professional Twitter. Please, please, please follow me on Twitter. I love connecting with other librarians across the US, across the world actually. If you want to follow my library's Twitter is here. My library's Instagram and Facebook is here. You can look at some of our programming, and I do post every time I do a virtual trip. I'll post the promotional tools, and then after I'll post pictures of us taking the trip. Wakelet, if you're interested in looking for more ideas, you can look on my Wakelet. It's the same as my Twitter handle. And anytime you have a question, do not hesitate to email me and ask me any questions you might have. But that's it. Once again, I wanted to thank Georgia Library Association for having me, and have a good day.